Hello, everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing 2 marketing reviews, and I think I'm going to be doing a total of 6. So these are just the first 2 that are coming. Some of it over the course of the 6 may become, I'm trying to not make it repetitive because a lot of the things that I see are global issues, so I'll try to tie them specifically to the types of ideal sessions that I ask these photographers that they want to shoot. So if you want to get an A+ on this podcast as a listener, you will know why I specified to them to tell me about their ideal session instead of their ideal client. Because I now have a massive distrust with anyone who is teaching education around marketing if you're a creative on the back of a customer service avatar or an ideal client, because so much of that education that I see is kind of just trying to chase around rich people. And it blows my mind because that's hardly anyone that anyone is photographing. The mass majority of people, even if they do have money, can't easily be identified by their wealth. And even the people who are the wealthiest does not mean that they will value your art. Some of my most wealthy clients have been my most difficult. So that did not translate into an ideal session because those clients didn't actually trust me, no matter how much money they had. So that's a little bit of like if you're learning or researching or trying to figure stuff out about marketing, when you're talking about product, you can talk about an ideal client. Like if I'm selling a basketball shoe and the shoe helps a particular basketball player play basketball well, then you can create a customer avatar or an ideal client because you are trying to encourage that person to use your shoe. When you're talking about art, instead, you want to identify the type of art you want to create and draw people to that art instead of chasing people around who have Dior shoes or whatever the hell these people say. Okay, so the first one is a photographer who is based in Spokane, Rachel Mann. I'm going to say names because obviously, if you want to look on their website or whatever and kind of follow along and see, and hopefully, over time they'll make little changes and tweaks. Not that they have to, but over time they will. So if you're listening in real time, then you can kind of see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this photographer and the marketing that she has available. Okay, so her ideal sessions, I said, please, my question was 1 or 2 types of ideal sessions. First one was a young family session, a family with 2 little ones, babies to 5 years old, hanging out at home where everyone's comfortable, kids can get goofy, parents just roll with it, letting the fun and craziness unfold. This session is all about those real messy and sweet moments. So again, going back to an ideal client, there is nothing that you can identify about a young family who fits all those criteria that you would be able to see from the outside looking at that person. However, you can draw a person in who also values those things by showcasing your art to new people. So that would be the goal here. Second one is an in-home newborn session with a young family welcoming their new baby, whether it's first or second, again, cozy and laid back. Okay, just driving the point home. That ideal session could take place in a mega mansion or a cottage, right? So it's not, we have to get away from this idea that we're chasing, that there's anything identifiable. And the reason that this is hitting for me right now is that in this stage where we are in the economy, I see photographers who kind of teach people how to target high-end people. And it's like, join the country club, like network with the people who work at the Porsche dealership. Like, that is just such a waste of time. I'm so sorry. And if you are an educator who educates like that, like, whatever, I'll fight you in the parking lot. I won't really, but like, please, it's not, when we're talking about art, the only way that works is maybe if you're in an extremely high-end $1 million wedding niche where your pool of people is so tiny, the people that can afford to spend $1 million on the wedding, probably all those people know each other because they all are friends, because there's actually like very few people who would fit that criteria. That would be the only time that you could be like, oh yeah, I'm going to target this literal friend group because they all want to keep up with each other to do these $1 million weddings. But beyond that, the chasing, anytime you feel yourself chasing a particular type of person, just know that that's actually such a difficult way to identify anyone. And even if you join all the freaking country clubs in the country, that doesn't guarantee that the people who would appreciate your art and show up to your session and trust you are going to be at the freaking country club. Okay, sorry, I'm a little ranty today. I had a crazy situation, and if you're squeamish, just skip-a-roo on ahead. My daughter was running to the bus, and she slipped and fell. Here's your second warning if you don't like mouth injuries. And we have a concrete curb, and she smashed her upper lip into the curb. And I don't know if you've ever had to do this, but we had to remove her braces from the inside of her lip. And so it's made me just, you know how when your kid gets hurt, you just get a little, you're just like on edge a little bit because you feel bad, and also is like traumatic as the parent to see them hurt. So anyway, that's the energy I decided to record this podcast with today. So I do apologize. Okay, I'm so sorry, Rachel. Here we go. So on her website, just looking through, there's like a family photo that is the cover photo. It's not showcasing this ideal session though. So that could be something. So here's the other thing. I see photographers saying that what they ideally like to do is families at home is like very, very common for these reviews. That I would say that's like a top 2 thing that people want. But I feel like what's lacking for a lot of people who that would be like their ideal is actually having that content. And as I've talked about before, if you don't feel like you have the content, and this is where I always want to be like right here with you. For my studio, I feel like I'm always lacking in content for things that I want. So that's the place in my business where I'm always thinking, or if I meet someone who seems really cool or like they would fit the vibe, I'll do a model call for them and then try to overutilize the content that I get from that session. So that could definitely be something to consider here is that initial cover photo is so powerful. And in this case, it's a family outside. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing families and you want to be known for this indoor snuggle session, then like be bold with it, right? So go ahead and do that. Something weird was happening on this homepage that I see a lot of times, and I don't know what it is or how to fix it, but like the buttons, the click-through buttons to different links seem to work sporadically. Like sometimes I would reload the page and it would work, and then other times I wouldn't. So like the Let's Chat More button on this worked about half the time. I don't know, that could just be my phone, but I also tried it on my computer and the same thing happened. So as we're scrolling through this page, the things I love is that there's text here and there's lots of images. I would love to see even more images on this homepage. I feel like in the initial scroll, I would love to see. So like the second image there is this in-home. It looks like a newborn session image in-home, really snuggly, very to the vibe. And then she talks about what she offers. So she helps you with styling services. She talks about child-led sessions. So all of this stuff is really helpful. And it's really great to feel like she's going to be on my team. Because if I'm inviting someone, especially into my home to photograph our family, that is also something that everyone has to recognize is extremely vulnerable, because your home is your sacred place. How are you going, as a photographer, how are you going to let them know that you're a trustworthy person to let in? So she has these great things. Why you'll love working with me, her approach, her expertise, creating calm, like that's perfect. Then she has her homepage. She has sections where it'll lead to the info pages. And if you've been a long-time listener, you know that I love this. I love when we can set the people on a path to immerse themselves in exactly what they want to look at more. So then she talks about how every session includes a complimentary design service for her artwork. Now, towards the end of I had like a little paper and I kind of tried to section out what needs work and what doesn't. So this idea of artwork and helping people, if you're offering a complimentary design services, that is a huge selling point, but it is underrepresented on this page. It's kind of down at the bottom. In this sort of environment where you are telling someone something that is very hard to visualize, this is a perfect opportunity to do behind the scenes video. Altogether, I love a video on a homepage, a video especially so let's think about empathetically from a client perspective, how valuable this would be. So you see Rachel, she goes into a family's home, she's doing the session, you can see her empathetic personality, the way that she's leading with whatever the child wants to do, the way she's creating calm, right? We see our eyes are imagining now our family and her coming to our house. And then you finish that videoing what it looks like to experience a design and consultation, and ideally that artwork on the wall. That continual story would be a wonderful model call, because if you need to be unsure and or bossy and or tell people exactly what you need, a model call is the perfect place to do that. So if I were her and I wanted this experience to be the Snuggly families are shot in home, the design consultation happened, the images go up on the wall or into the albums or whatever, that is a perfect opportunity to become the storyteller. So, as always, her other type of ideal session was the in-home newborn. And so, as always, when we have a competing kind of who's going to get who, is it clear who this page is talking to? I feel like she's doing as good of a job as she can with this. With her, when you scroll down to the bottom here, it's view maternity, view fresh 48, view newborn. And then when you go to the newborn page from the home page, it's another info page. So it's not, what I see so often is that you say view newborn and it goes to a gallery of images and there's no other call to action beyond, if there is, it's always, my dreaded distaste for the novel / contact me form. So on this page, you go to the newborn page and it's a bunch of information. She talks about her process. Having a process is extremely beautiful to me because you are an artist and you do have a process. And so if you talk about that process and how clients can plug into that, that's amazing. So her newborn page is very, very helpful. The only thing is all of these pages at the bottom, they just end. There's no link at the bottom. There's nowhere to go. I'm always a huge proponent of thinking of your website like a road. When you get to the bottom of a page, we need to know where to go next. And again, this is an opportunity for her on this newborn page, if walking clients through art consultations, if that truly is part of her process, then I would love to see more information about that here on this page. So because of the way that it's lacking like buttons at the bottom or, the calls to actions, calls to actions, sometimes they go to a Sprout Studio page, which is a booking page, and then sometimes it goes to a contact form. So I would make it more clear where it's going. When we go to the Sprout Studio page right now in December of 2024, everything is booked. And so if that was the case, I would be at a dead end here as a potential client. And there's nothing here about newborn sessions on the Sprout Studio page, even though it's linked from the newborn page. And you may be like, okay, whatever, like that's not a big deal. It is a big deal because that's the only path that the client has to take. So we have to make sure that it's very clear. So overall, the fact that she has info pages and those info pages are not galleries is amazing. Her About Me page, which you guys know is like my thing, there's some images of her, information about her, a few of her favorite things, her why, so like why she's doing it. But again, this is the place to bring up the process. So Rachel as an artist has a process. You as a client plug into the process. That is how you achieve your dream as a client, which is whatever they fell in love with when they first clicked into the website, saw the images, they were like, yes, it's exactly what I want. Helping clients understand that you have a process they plug into to get the result that they fell in love with. That's a high trust brand. Think about anything. Like we always talk about how can we take it back to make it clear? If I go to the store, if I see an ad for something and I go to the store to buy it and it's exactly what I want, then I'm a happy client. If any other thing happens, I'm an unhappy client. So we can learn from consumer behavior while knowing that we aren't necessarily selling a product like a basketball shoe. We're selling an experience. Okay, so I think that she's doing good on SEO. She's on page 1 for Spokane family photographer and Spokane newborn photographer. Pinterest seems to be dominated by like a handful of photographers, so there's definitely room to grow there. I think mainly we just need more focus on the process, because Rachel as a photographer clearly has a process. And I think that behind the scenes video would super help us to understand how we fit in to what she's trying to do, especially if it's a young family and I'm coming into the home. I mean, she's coming into their home to film them. I need to see that. Like, I want to see that was me playing one of her reels. I want to see that on the page. And there's pieces of it here. It would be easy to do. It's just a voiceover. Like, you could just, even if you didn't have video, even if you created a video with images and you said like, you're talking in the background, this will require you to get over the sound of your own voice. If that's a problem for you, then I have an episode all about getting over the sound of your own voice, which is incredibly empowering in marketing, especially because the way that we're going with trends right now is short form video is more out, and longer form video, people's attention spans are returning a little bit. So here's like my marketing idea for this. If you had, let's say you couldn't afford a videographer or even iPhone photo. Let's just say you took photos of this ideal session, the family in the house, and then those images were slideshowing through the video, and you're talking in the background about your process and how you create that environment. And then you're taking photos of, I don't know if this is an ordering appointment that happens in person or online, but either way, you're somehow documenting that and then documenting how the photos are displayed either on the wall or in artwork. That's such a story that's from start to finish that's so pleasing for a potential client to be able to check in on. So the most important aspects of this are, if you're talking to two different types of people, which the next photographer will talk about also struggles with this. I struggle with this. It's so hard. I always say how jealous I am of the photographers who photograph one thing and that's all they do, because it's so much easier to talk about one thing. If you're talking about multiple things, you just have to make sure that you're sending people to very clear paths on your homepage right from the start. And that could even include, like, instead of having just her website, she could have 2 links on her Instagram, and one is for families and one is for newborns. And those links could go directly to her info pages. And those pages would also be what she's pinning from. The blog posts she's pinning from you could categorize them in newborn and family, and you could utilize the info pages is like, what if she was trying to run an ad for a newborn photo, it would not go to her homepage, it would go to the info page for her newborns. And then on there, she already has reviews. She's done a great job of that. So adding in that behind the scenes and more information about how she's helping clients with design consultations. I mean, a one-stop shop as a page is amazing. And if she even wants to link to some blog posts that she has of images or galleries, all of that can be in there. People will hang out on a page if it's full of valuable information. They don't want to continue to have to click around. So that would be my suggestion for this. Obviously, she's done a good job with blogging because her SEO is good. So there is room for storytelling, and there's room to lean into info pages. In terms of the type of marketing that could be, focus on pain point marketing. What is a person struggling with if they want to invite Rachel into their house? What would hold them back? And so much of this can be done through visual storytelling. You don't have to create a PowerPoint presentation to be like, all right, we're going to discuss this thing you're worried about, how my house is dirty, whatever it is, the thing that is scaring them. Instead, you can just showcase those sessions if you have that content and keep showing them and talking about them. And honestly, that sounds oversimplistic, but that's kind of what it is about. And just everyone who's listening, if you have a website that has a path, make sure your buttons are working. Make sure that the client is able to finish out that experience. If you have someone on a newborn page, info page, and like in newborn session info page, they are so close to booking with you. And if you accidentally, without paying attention, send them to a like session or Sprout, or like this example of a online booking page with no available dates, you've given them nowhere else to go. So if you're going to do online booking, you have to stay on top of it. Okay, so those are my suggestions for Rachel. I think looking through her content, if she wants something to do over her slower months, I would definitely contact 3 to 4 families and get those Snuggly in-home sessions and overproduce the behind the scenes, overproduce the images, like take images that you might not normally take. Like let's say you guys are all hanging out and the 3-year-old runs off, like take a picture of that, include it in your slideshow of the video and be like, in your voiceover, you could be like, and now little Susie is peacing out, but that's okay because my sessions are client led. So whenever she's ready to come back, she can come back. Right there, that's a calming pain point message that you're sending through your imagery. Okay, so let me switch over to the other one. I'm going to pause really quick so you don't hear the crinkle of the paper. Okay, so next one is going to be Jessica Martin. She's out of Austin, Texas. And these, of course, Rooney has identified some sort of villainous squirrel or something outside and she's barking about it. So if you can hear her, I apologize. It's a rule for Rooney that she must also be on the podcast. Okay, high school seniors who are unapologetically themselves. They're looking for a photo shoot that feels unique and tailored to their personality, not cookie cutter or over polished. That's session type number 1. Session type number 2, families with school-age children who want photos that focus on connection, not perfection or overly posed. These families are drawn to real moments over posed smiles and value authenticity in their portraits. So again, sorry, now I have my phone near the microphone and people are DMing me. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm going for done is better than perfect here in my rage closet. All right, so what we have going on here, and the issue that Jessica's having is much greater in terms of who she's talking to than Rachel, because Jessica has a beautiful senior brand, but families are completely lost in it from what I felt like. So the website, if you go on it, it's totally geared towards seniors. It's very friendly towards them. The design is totally geared towards her ideal session. So she has blog posts on there. She has helpful tips. Everything is senior. There's very little on the website about families, and seniors and families are different enough. Like newborns and families, you can kind of talk about the same things because often the same families who show up for newborn photos will in a year be contacting you for family photos. So you know what I mean? It's the same, very similar. Whereas seniors are very different. And again, always putting myself in the boat of everyone else as someone who's been dabbling in seniors. It's tricky because you're talking to the senior. You have to get the attention of the senior, but you also have to get the attention of the parent. And it's really confusing about who you're actually talking to. I've had seniors who are seeming, when they show up to the session, completely disinterested in the session themselves. And it's clear their parents are just like forcing them to be there. And I also have seniors who are like super into the process and they want to help plan everything. So it's complicated to try to think about who we're talking to. But Jessica's homepage of seniors is so geared towards them and very clear that she specializes in this type of client. But again, if she is trying to talk to families, they just get a little bit lost. On the homepage, the only way that you can find out anything about families is through the services drop down. So as I'm going through her homepage, it's all seniors, and there's not even anything I would change. I mean, like, it's so perfectly geared towards seniors. I would also almost rather her if she's going to have a way to connect to families, like on Instagram, again, do the thing where the families just go to the family info page. It really depends on what the percentage is here. If it's 80% seniors, 20% families, that's what the website reflects. If you're trying to do 50-50, then the families are not going to feel like they're getting a specialist if they go onto this website. And again, that's our big pain point when we're doing our website, is that every client does want a specialist. So the way she has this homepage lined out, if she was someone who was just going to focus 100% on seniors, I think she has it down. I mean, it's so fun. She has a quiz on there. She has reviews. She has all these things. She has blog posts that are helpful. Again, there is an issue at the bottom where we're not going anywhere. We're just down at the bottom, and then we have like home blog about contact, and there are some like blog posts, but I would much rather see a little bit more organization of exactly where you want people to go if they reach the bottom of this page. If we go on to the way we're finding families is we're going to services, and then it says senior family brands wedding. So we got a lot going on. And again, as someone who has a lot going on, I totally understand how that feels. Hence why I have like 3 different photography websites. And just yesterday I was like, I think I need another photography website, because there's a thing about me where I do love making websites. So I have to calm down and try not to do any more websites. But on her, when you actually get over to her family page, it says non-judgmental documentary relaxed photography for compassionate families. She has a slideshow going, and she has some great copy here. Like it's very helpful. It goes to some blog posts, frequently asked questions, more images. I'm the photographer for you if, and then it lists out a bunch of different things. We have reviews. She talks about family films. The family page itself is very robust. It's just that it either needs to be like the second you go on the homepage, you either go seniors here, families here, or there's just no way to see that families are represented on the homepage. And then at the bottom, again, we run into a situation with I'm just sort of hanging out down here on the bottom. And the only thing I can really do is click the contact button. Throughout this family info page, I guess I would call it, because it's not a homepage, it's a family info page. This goes to a Sprout Studio page where we see Christmas minis, Besties Forever, full family session, senior year, and UT senior photos. And then you can book those. But I would almost rather, I mean, I don't know if there's a way, but I would love for this to be separated so that the family people aren't seeing all the senior info and the senior people aren't seeing the family info. So again, she does have online booking with Sprout Studio. I don't know how Sprout Studio works because I use Acuity, but like, for example, for Acuity, I can embed my individual session type. So like if I do a blog post about a mountain session, at the bottom of that blog post, I'll embed my booking calendar so they can stay right on my website and book. And then I'm not creating any confusion. And it's not overly confusing to the point where like no one can figure it out. It's just, I always feel like if I'm a senior and I'm scrolling through a bunch of session types and I just want to keep on my senior track, I just want it to be as clear as possible. And so it's not as though someone's going to get necessarily lost. Like they can definitely book from here, but I would even insert here some information about the process. What's the family process? What's the senior process? And have that be what the buy-in is about. So the process is whatever it is. With me, it's you look through, you choose your location, you go to online booking, and then you're on the calendar and I help with styling and like whatever else you might need about getting to your location if it's a travel session. So getting this idea of creating a process that you stand behind is super, super valuable. Okay, so on her About Me page, it's very fun. It talks about why she wanted to be a senior photographer and how she views senior photography, again, this is very senior photography focused. She has like a family session of her family, which is great because you get to see more about her. But what I would rather see is her artistic statement and or process about how she works with these two types of people. So what is it that when you work with her, what does it feel like? When you have a family session with her, what can you expect? Like that sort of thing. And then that just becomes your little pocket of information that is your about me, who you are, what are we buying into here, right? So she has some really great information about how people can be insecure and then they can go to confident through photography sessions. So how can we outline that into a process, right? And that's so helpful because then a potential senior who's sitting with their parent, the idea would be, I should try to like visualize what this person's doing. A senior is sitting next to the parent. Whether or not that would happen or not, let's just hope that's how they're shopping for this senior photographer. They're both having buy-in to the process. The process is clear. The process is straightforward. Every image they see as they scroll through is consistent and only building more and more trust. So I would just create that process and talk about it almost like something you think you could trademark. Like it's so specific to you that this is how you do it. And this is how you bring the character of the senior out. This is how you create a calm environment for the family. So this website in particular, to me, does feel a little bit clunky. And I don't know, I think it's something to do with the text sizes and how they kind of vary throughout. And I love the overall look. I think it works. I think the overall branding works really, really well for the seniors, but I could imagine that a family would feel underrepresented here. Okay, so let's see. Short form video again, behind the scenes. So if we go to that idea of the short form video, just as a way for people to get to know, if we had some behind the scenes from a senior shoot, that's only going to build more trust, especially with seniors. I'm in the same boat of trying to decide how I'm attracting seniors, or if there's also been the thought for me, because I do photograph quite a few different things. Is that even a path I want to go down? I had senior shoots this year that I really liked, but it seems to me like a kind of like overwhelmingly tricky targeting group. So that's something to think about. If you want to draw them in more, a behind the scenes video would be very valuable. And as you guys know, I love to have YouTube videos embedded into my blog post because that also helps with SEO. So that can just be a slideshow. If you have a senior session, you talk about how this particular person, you brought them out of their comfort zone, and these are the images that you got. One thing I think would be super cool for all the senior photographers to think about, and something that I thought about doing, is telling senior stories. So like, you learn about that person in the blog post. They actually tell you some things. They like fill out a little questionnaire. You learn about what they're doing after high school or whatever. And that can become a shareable piece of content for their family, which could raise awareness for you as a senior photographer as well. I have thought about doing that, and the reason I haven't is because I don't know how much energy I want to put into seniors. But if you shoot seniors, that could be a cool thing. Definitely could lean into Pinterest. I know that that Pinterest is bouncing back. I know that from my middle school and early high school kids, that Pinterest, especially for the girlies, they are on it. So it's definitely a good place to market if you're a senior photographer. The other place, of course, is TikTok, but we don't know now if it is going to disintegrate on whatever, January 19th. And it would suck to put a bunch of energy there only to have the entire app fall apart. So if you do want to have a TikTok strategy, just wait until we have some more information. So since you need a parental buy-in, you could even have something on there that's like, hey, parents, here's how I blah, 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 blah. And you would talk about some insecurities, problems, issues that the senior might be having. I don't know what to wear. I don't know how to act. I don't know where to do these, whatever it is. And then families, we have to somehow make it so that if families are a priority, if that is an ideal session type that you want to shoot more of, Jessica, then we have to figure out how we make them feel not like an afterthought on your homepage, because it's hard for me to tell you to change because the senior thing is working so well. The other thing you could do is just it depends on how people are finding you, but if they're finding you through Instagram, instead of having you have those two links where I think it goes to your booking page or your website, have it be seniors families and split them out that way. And the family is just the info page. So that would be my idea. There's always lots of marketing opportunities for seniors, especially I think is one where it really makes sense to get involved in the community. I actually just heard about from in my own town that our high school, and I wasn't really aware of this, has a really robust like work study program. So it could be kind of cool to contact the high school and say, hey, I'm trying to build out my seniors, or I'm trying to work with more seniors, or whatever it is, and say maybe some of those kids who go to the high school could help you understand the best way to market to them. So those are kind of my ideas for those two photographers, and I will be back with two more. I'm trying to decide if I want to put out another episode tomorrow and do like 2 per week, or what. I don't know yet, but I will be recording those. And then if you're looking for a write-off for the end of the year, you could join the marketing one-on-one mentorship. I'm really excited about the folks that have already come through, because I just think it'll be so transformational for them to have someone who is just giving them nudges and helping them create a marketing plan for the whole year, because I really want everyone to have the 2025 that they want. And it's so hard if you feel like you're just in it by yourself to get that work done. So my goal is to be someone that you can ask any question, that you can lean on, that you can say, hey, what do I do? And the other thing I want to say is, if it's more complicated than just like you feel like you have a good handle on your website, you feel like your Instagram's working, but maybe you want to dive into Facebook ads, or you want to try something more advanced, that's also a good reason to look into the marketing mentorship. And then I'm also going to be putting together two classes in January in my studio, one on Pinterest in person, because I remember I totally forgot that I had done that before, and I really loved that format because I could just look over your shoulder and help create the boards. And then the other one is just going to be an overall marketing planning session in the studio sometime in January. So those things are coming up. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I will see you guys either one more time this week or next week. Okay, bye.